Have you ever stopped to think about a nebulizer? It's this amazing little device that so many people rely on. And today, we're going to dive into how it pulls off a pretty incredible feat, turning liquid medicine into a superfine, breathable mist that can get right to where it needs to go.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the basic science of how you even turn medicine into mist. Then, we're going to peek under the hood and see how the machine actually works. After that, we'll get into why the size of that mist is so incredibly important. We'll also walk through a practical guide for anyone who uses one, and finally, we'll look ahead to see what's next for this amazing technology.
All right, so let's start with the big question. How on earth do you take a vial of liquid medicine and turn it into something you can actually breathe deep down into your lungs?
I mean, it's a fantastic question, right? For millions of people with breathing conditions, this whole process is an absolute lifeline. But it's not as simple as just making a spray, you know? It's all about engineering a very, very specific kind of mist that can travel deep into all those tiny airways in our body.
So here's the core idea. The key phrases to remember are inhalable mist and deep into the lungs. See, a normal nasal spray, that just hits your upper airways. A nebulizer is a whole different ballgame. It's designed to get that medicine way, way further down, into those branching airways we call the bronchi and bronchioles.
So, you might be thinking, why not just take a pill? Well, the magic is in that direct delivery. The medicine goes straight to the source, the lungs, so it works fast. And because it's so targeted, you get fewer side effects than the rest of your body. Plus, you don't need any complex breathing coordination, which makes it an absolute lifesaver for babies, older folks, or really anyone who's in distress and struggling to breathe.
Okay, so now that we get what nebulization is and why it's so important, let's pop the hood. Let's see how these things actually work. It's all based on some really clever physics.
You know, the science behind the most common nebulizers is surprisingly simple. It's based on something called Bernoulli's principle. The best analogy is an old-school perfume bottle with the little squeeze bowl. When you squeeze it, air rushes over a tiny tube, creating low pressure that sucks the perfume up and shatters it into a mist. A jet nebulizer does the exact same thing, just in a very controlled, medical-grade way.
So here's that process, step by step. You've got pressurized air that creates that vacuum, sucking up the medicine. The liquid gets shattered into a mist. But here's the really crucial part. Inside, there are these little things called baffles, and they act like a bouncer at a club, blocking any droplets that are too big. Only the fine, perfectly sized mist gets through to be inhaled.
But, you know, not all nebulizers use that jet principle. There are really three main types out there. The jet nebulizers are the workhorses. They're the most common, and they're pretty cheap. Then you have ultrasonic models, which use high-frequency vibrations. They're way faster and quieter. And then the newest kid on the block is the mesh nebulizer. It uses a vibrating screen with thousands of microscopic holes to make the mist. These are super efficient and so small you can literally fit one in your pocket. Okay, this brings us to what is honestly one of the most important concepts in all of this. It's not enough to just create a mist. The entire treatment's effectiveness really hinges on getting the particle size just right. And that magic number is between 2 and 5 micrometers. Now, to give you some perspective, a single human hair is about 50 to 70 micrometers thick. So we are talking about particles that are incredibly, incredibly tiny, all engineered to navigate the deep, branching roads of our airways and land exactly where they're needed most.
And this table shows you exactly why that size is so critical. It's like a Goldilocks situation. If the particles are too big, over 10 micrometers, they just get stuck in your nose and throat. Too small, under 1 micrometer, and they might get all the way down, but you'll probably just breathe them right back out again. That 2 to 5 micrometer range, that's the sweet spot. That's what gets the medicine right to the bronchioles where it can do its job.
So who really benefits from this super precise delivery? Well, we see it used all the time for managing chronic conditions like asthma, COPD, and cystic fibrosis. But it's also a critical tool for acute problems like bronchiolitis in kids, or in emergency situations where someone is really fighting for breath.
But of course, no tech is perfect, right? There are always trade-offs. The advantages are huge. They're easy for anyone to use, they work fast, and they have fewer side effects. But on the flip side, older models can be pretty bulky and need to be plugged in. A treatment can also take, 10 or 15 minutes. And there's a really big one we're about to discuss, the risk of infection if the device isn't cleaned properly. So, let's shift gears and get really practical. For anyone who uses a nebulizer or takes care of someone who does, knowing the right way to do it isn't just helpful, it's absolutely essential for it to be safe and effective.
This here lays out the 10 critical steps, and you'll notice it starts with hygiene, washing your hands, and it ends with hygiene, cleaning all the parts. In between, it's about setting it up right, adding the medicine, and then most importantly, sitting upright and taking slow, deep breaths. You just keep going until all the mist is gone.
Now, here is a pro tip that is absolutely non-negotiable, especially for anyone using an inhaled steroid. You have to rinse your mouth out with water afterwards. Why? Well, that steroid residue can mess with the natural balance of stuff in your mouth, and that can lead to a nasty fungal infection called oral thrush. A simple rinse and spit totally prevents it.
And this brings us right back to that risk of infection. A warm, damp nebulizer is like a perfect little incubator for germs, which is why cleaning it after every single use is not optional. The big rules are: wash the parts daily, disinfect them weekly, and always let everything air dry completely. And it should go without saying, but never, ever share a nebulizer.
All right, for our final section, let's look to the horizon. Nebulizer tech isn't just standing still. It's always evolving, always getting more effective, more convenient, and a whole lot smarter.
I mean, it is amazing to see how far this stuff has come. We went from these big, bulky, loud machines in the 50s to the much quieter ultrasonic models in the 80s. Then the 2000s were a total game changer with portable mesh nebulizers. And now we're entering the era of smart devices that can actually track your dosage and help you stay on schedule.
The trend here is crystal clear. It's all about empowering the patient. The future is smaller, smarter, and way more personalized. I mean, can you imagine a device that adjusts your medicine based on real-time feedback from your own body? That gives you a level of control over your own health that was basically science fiction not too long ago.
And that really leaves us with this incredible question to think about. What if a smart nebulizer could not only give you medicine, but also track your breathing patterns and send that data straight to your doctor? Could that kind of tech completely revolutionize how we manage chronic lung disease? It really seems like the future of breathing therapy is about to get a lot more personal and a whole lot smarter. Thanks for joining me.